Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Charitable and Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. We appreciate it. And so on this special edition of Bayou Time, you get to meet someone who has done some remarkable things. I've always known that he's done remarkable things because I get the chance to see him pretty often. But I want to introduce you to George Robichaux. George, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Keith.
We appreciate it. And so, George, one of those things is that we always like to do every time somebody comes on with me, I want them to get a feel for who you are. I've gotten a chance to know you for a long time with our kids who have known each other, but more importantly, through church. And so let's talk a little bit about you. Let's talk about a little bit about your history. Tell us about you, George.
So I grew up in Thibodeau. I am the fourth of 9 children. Went to Edie White, went to LSU, got a graduate degree there, and then moved to Houma and worked for, I guess, 42 years in the banking industry. Right. Started with Terrebonne Bank and finished with 21 years with South Louisiana Bank.
A lot of people associate you with South Louisiana Bank.
It was a good run, a lot of good people over there, and certainly enjoyed my time and still have a great relationship with those guys. Yeah.
And that's the work family.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about your family.
So my family, Ann Yesso, we got married in '89. We have 3 girls who were born in, 91, 93, 96. They are all grown up, moved out more than out of town, out of state. One is out of the country.
Right.
The oldest one is in New Zealand. One of them is at UCLA teaching, and the other is in her 2nd year of residency, also in California. In Riverside.
Right. So 2 on the West Coast, 1 way west in New Zealand. Yes. And so very proud of them, right?
Sure.
And all those things.
They've been terrific.
Yeah. And, of course, you and I get to see each other pretty often in serving at Maria Immaculata Church. And so very glad that you and Ann are involved in that. It's been a part of your life for a long time.
Yeah, sure. I've been active as a reader and on the finance council at the church for a long time, as well as active with funds distribution with the United Way, also on the Terrebonne Foundation for Academic Excellence board and the 5K there. And then I've been, 35-year member with the Kiwanis Club.
Right. And now they got you speaking in lots of different places, right? Got you speaking at Rotary.
Going to Rotary today, and I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, and it's one of those things where people do remarkable things all the time, and rarely do others maybe get to notice or see that. Let's talk a little bit about cycling for you. When did that become your thing? But you're also a runner as well, right?
So I was a runner first, and still a runner,
right?
But started running when I was in college as just a way to stay in shape, and aerobic and aerobic health was a big thing back then, and heart health.
Right.
And so I started running and participated in a few marathons. And
you say that so cavalier. I participated in a few marathons. Right. 26 miles. Right.
26 miles. Right. The first one was in 1980 when I was 23 years old at that time.
Wow.
And so that just kind of progressed for that from there, and had a foot injury and really backed off from running.
Active running.
From active running, sure. Yeah. And that's when I kind of picked up cycling because it was, obviously less pounding on your feet.
Sure.
And picked up that, and then also got into swimming from there, and then started participating in triathlons. But the cycling thing really got started with the multiple sclerosis Tour for Cure ride, which was 75 miles. You ride from Hammond to Macomb, you spend the night, and you ride 75 miles back the next day. And that kind of introduced me to the longer distance cycling.
Wow, but it sounds like you did this initially with the running aerobically to stay in shape.
Right.
And then running turned into, as we have to adapt and adjust, none of us like to admit to it, but when we get older, things get a little more difficult, right? And adjusting to that, but you did something that most people don't do. You turned your focus into, how do I make cycling about helping? How do I make cycling about raising money? How do I make cycling about doing this for others? And that MS ride, I mean, that's 150 miles.
Right.
75. Yeah, it's 75 miles one day, 75 miles the next day. Right.
Right.
That's a big deal. But the triathlons actually get you prepared for that, right?
Sure. That's a big part of it. And, the triathlon is something that I started. My first one with that was in 1987. And but as when I got married and had little kids, I really, didn't want to take the time to do those sorts of things, and kind of backed off till the girls were a little older.
Right.
And then kind of progressed for that and did several Ironman events as well.
Wow. Yeah. And again, you say that very cavalier. The closest thing I have to Ironman is that I have some Ironman sunglasses and some Ironman eyeglasses.
There you go.
Those two
That's
things.
the first step. Yeah.
I've taken my first step, George. I love it. And that's a really good thing for me to be able to think about and appreciate. And I love where this is taking you. As it takes us to our first break, I want to know a whole lot more about what you did as you bicycled across America, because I want people to hear that part of the story. So thank you for sticking with us for this next segment. All right. We want you guys to do that as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back with George Robichaux and his ride across America on a bicycle. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health Systems, modern technology and timeless caring. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, and I'm so very glad to have my friend George Robichaux. George, thanks for joining us once again.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So this cycling, it started out with running became cycling, triathlons and swimming and all of those things. And now here we are where you do this ride for MS. We do 75 miles in one day, 75 miles the next day, which I think a lot of people would go, oh my God, to that. But we were so very glad to have you on Sports on the Bayou and share the story with you as you cycled across America. And I remember Bobby Hebert's response when he found out that you cycled across America. He was like, oh my God. Like, he was really surprised by that, as a lot of people are. Let's talk about how this ride across America came to be.
Yeah, well, really, before I even actively cycled, I wanted to ride my bike across America. It was just something from junior high. I would see articles in the paper about people riding their bikes across America, and I just always wanted to do that. But obviously you don't just pick up and do that.
Right. Did you ever think you'd wait to the age you are now to do that,
well,
George?
That wouldn't necessarily be the plan, but that's the reality.
That's kind of how it became,
to
right?
take 60 days, you'd have to have a heck of a kind employer to,
right.
to just say, go ahead and take 60 days.
Take 2 months off.
And certainly the internet made it happen, made it reasonable, makes it attainable. The Adventure Cycling Association is a nonprofit out of Missoula that promotes cycling, and as a way to raise money for their cause, they put on these tours.
Right.
And so this one goes across the southern tier from San Diego to St. Augustine, 58 days, 14 riders. Of which 2 are the leaders.
Right.
And they supply
the lead.
Yeah, a van and a trailer, and it's camping. It was when they say adventure cycling, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
And
Just the bare minimum.
Yeah, and
adventure, right?
so the good thing is you don't carry your camping gear. Have to carry. You're not self-contained.
Oh, wow.
And you have support, and
Right.
you load up the trailer in the morning. And they have really good maps. They have all the roads laid out. They do this twice a year. They have the reservations for the campgrounds, or
Right.
sometimes we stayed in fellowship halls for
Right.
churches, or we stayed in the fire department, the police department.
Wow.
They had that all marked out. People were always very welcoming. And we had six rest days. We averaged 60 miles a day. And you move along. One of the funniest things that we loved, and it happened almost every day, is when you'd see somebody on the road or in a convenience store, and they making small talk, and they say, "Well, where y'all going?" and you tell them St. Augustine, Florida, and
Right.
they just have this look, because we're sitting here in Pima, Arizona. And then they said, "Well, where y'all coming from?" And we say, "San Diego." And so it was just so much fun, such an adventure. None of the people know each other ahead of time.
Okay.
We were 14 people from, I think, 11 different states.
Wow.
We had a few accidents, 2 accidents along the way. One
Right.
guy, in addition, had COVID. So we ended up with 11 of the 14 that were able to finish the ride.
So tell me what it's like, because look, I think only maybe the show Forrest Gump could ever really give us a little bit of insight to what it must be like to run that distance, and he ran it a little differently than you. Tell us what it was like to what you got to see and experience in God's glory.
The great thing, it was certainly, I was thinking Texas was going to be just arduous,
right?
But it was beautiful.
Okay.
As well. So California, then Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas. We were on the bike during the eclipse, which was kind of neat.
Oh.
We happened to be about at a 90% eclipse place. The other thing with the route, and because we were on the bikes, and I mean, you're trying to stay away from big cities and
Sure.
And high traffic. So
Right.
we were on these rural roads, and you just looking down this straight road, and there's nothing. I mean, when we in these, we were down by the Mexican border on probably 4 different days. Saw the wall several times.
Wow. Okay. It's pretty unique to see.
Yeah. No, that was cool.
Right.
And you just moving forward every day, and you have to keep that mindset. Just to stay kind of within the moment,
Right, and stay motivated for yourself.
Stay motivated, yeah.
What was the most beautiful sight, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sure there's a bunch.
Yeah, there were a bunch, but Roosevelt, there's a Roosevelt Dam right on the other side of Mesa, Arizona, in the Tonto National Forest or something.
That territory.
And that whole area had a big old lake and a dam. And again, it was a road that didn't have a lot of traffic, and you didn't have that stress. And you were able to just kind of cruise along
and take it in.
And take it in. And when the times when you were riding by yourself, well, I guess some of the times when you really appreciated it more.
Yeah. Well, George, we are so very appreciative for you to come on and tell your story and share that with us. And so we're very glad to share that story with those people viewing, and those that are not still in awe, very thankful and appreciative. So thanks for what you did for that.
Perfect.
What a great ride.
Yep.
All right.
Terrific.
Thank you, George. You got it. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment. Don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on Bayou Time.